Welcome back to Freedom Friday, where we uncover biblical counter narratives of faith, hope, and resilience through the power of a risen Christ. So we have concluded Black History Month, and now we're moving into March, which is Women's History Month. So today, we bring you the story of a fierce and courageous black woman in the Bible, Jael. She was an unsung hero, a woman of cunning, wisdom, and power, chosen by God to bring down the oppressor of his people. So this is not only a story of war and conquest, but a testament to how God uses the unexpected, those whom society often overlooks, to execute divine justice and set the oppressed free. We looked at her story briefly last year. Now we go into deeper depth. Our feature text for this episode is Judges 5:24. Most blessed of women is Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite. Most blessed is she of women in the tent. The Hebrew people had been under the dominion of Jabin, king of Canaan, through his commander Sisera for 20 long years. The oppression was brutal. Life was hard. Judges 4:3 says, the sons of Israel cried to the Lord, for he, Sisera, had 900 iron chariots, and he oppressed the sons of Israel severely for 20 years. To fully understand the magnitude of the symbolism of Jael's victorious action, we have to go back to another God-called woman, Deborah the prophetess and judge of Israel. God gave her a command for Barak, the Israelite general. Go and fight against Sisera, she said, the commander of the Canaanite army. I will deliver him into your hand. But Barak hesitated. In fact, Judges 4:8 tells us he refused to go unless Deborah accompanied him. To insist on the prophetess accompanying him into the battle indicated Barak did not have much confidence in God's assurance of his victory. So in response to Barak's lack of faith, Deborah agreed to go with him, but she also uttered a prophecy, one which introduces our hero. Because you won't trust in God's word alone, she said, the honor of victory will not go to you, but to a woman. Little did anyone know that this woman would not be a warrior on the battlefield, nor even to Deborah herself, but to a woman in the margins of Hebrew society, a non-Hebrew, Jael. But who was this Jael? According to the scriptural narrative, Jael was the wife of Heber the Kenite, a descendant of Moses' father-in-law, Jethro. Jethro, or Ruel as he was sometimes referred to, was the father of Moses' Cushite wife. The Bible tells us that Moses invited his Cushite in-laws to journey with the Israelites across the desert because he recognized their knowledge and survival skills in that harsh condition. They served as guides through the desert, and so they entered the promised land with the Hebrews and settled there with them. Heber, Jael's husband, was one of their descendants, and in all likelihood, so was Jael herself. The actions of this courageous Cushite woman, then, was to play a pivotal role in the deliverance of the chosen people from 20 years of foreign domination. The International Standard Bible Encyclopedia notes, the tribe of Heber, Jael's husband, was probably neutral in the struggle with Jabin, but they were descendants of Jethro and had the confidence of the Israelites. So now let's set the scene. Barak leads Israel's army against Sisera. Despite their advantages, the 900 iron chariots failed when Barak and Deborah led Israel to victory. Judges 4 says that God threw Sisera's army into confusion. And in verses 4 and 5, it suggests that heavy rains caused the ground to become muddy, making the chariots useless. So instead of being a strength, they became a liability as they got stuck, forcing Sisera to flee on foot. Exhausted and desperate, he flees to the tent of Heber, Jael's husband. Why did Sisera go there? Because there was a so-called peace between Heber's clan and the Canaanites. Sisera thought he had found safety, but what he didn't realize was that he had walked straight into the hands of God's chosen weapon, Jael. So she steps out to meet Sisera as he runs up. She invites him in, offers him shelter, gives him milk instead of water, knowing full well the milk would make him drowsy. And so he falls asleep under her care, believing he is safe. But the moment he drifts off, Jael springs into action. Judges 4:21 tells us, Jael, Heber's wife, took a tent peg and seized a hammer in her hand and went secretly to him and drove the peg to his temple. And it went through into the ground, for he was sound asleep and exhausted. And so he died. This was not an accident. This was judgment. Jael had no sword, no army, no military training, just a hammer and a tent peg. But she had the strength, precision, and courage to strike a fatal blow. She knew there was no room for error. This man was a warrior. One wrong move, and she would be the one lying dead in that tent. But she did not waver. She did what had to be done. When Barak finally arrived, still chasing Sisera, Jael greeted him with a calm confidence. "Come," she said, "I will show you the man you're looking for." And there lay the mighty Sisera, dead at the hands of this Cushite woman, fulfilling Deborah's prophecy. That day, God's people were freed from their oppression, and Jael's name was etched into history as the woman who brought down the oppressor. As a result of Jael's courageous action, Deborah the prophetess pronounces her most blessed of all women. Judges 5:24 tells us, "Most blessed of women be Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite, most blessed of tent-dwelling women." This pronouncement has deep biblical, cultural, and historical significance well beyond just praising Jael's actions. So let's quickly look at a few of them. Jael's blessing echoes later biblical pronouncements about exceptional women. One in particular, notice, is when the angel Gabriel greeted Mary, the mother of Jesus. "Blessed are you," said Gabriel, "among women." Luke 1:28. This prophetic parallel suggests that Jael's action delivering Israel is an Old Testament foreshadowing of Mary's role in bringing ultimate salvation through Christ. In crushing his head, as the narrative describes, she was portraying the Christ crushing the head of the serpent, as foretold in Genesis 3:15. In this connection, Jael's decisive single act of striking down Sisera was a form of God's judgment and deliverance, solidifying her place in salvation history. Remember, as the Christ was about to be crucified, he declared in John 16:11, "Now the prince of this world is judged." His death on the cross bore divine judgment and judged the serpent, yet it brought salvation to all. Jael was a Kenite, a semi-nomadic people known for living in tents rather than cities. Tent-dwelling women weren't traditionally warriors, nor were they expected to participate in major historical events. But by exalting a tent-dwelling woman, Deborah is emphasizing that Jael shattered these norms. Instead of being a passive bystander, she became the instrument of divine justice. Her legacy speaks to black women in a broader sense throughout history. Those who have fought for freedom, justice, and deliverance against oppression. Like Harriet Tubman, you remember her, who led so many of her people to freedom. Like Sojourner Truth, who spoke truth to power. And like countless black women today and throughout history who continue to stand in the gap for their communities, their loved ones, and most of all, for their faith. Jael's story reminds us that victory does not always belong to the one with the most resources or the strongest army. Sometimes it belongs to the one with the courage to act when the right moment comes. So the next time you feel overwhelmed or underestimated, remember Jael. She obtained fame by a single act at the most strategic moment. Yeah, your position doesn't determine your power. Your willingness to step up when the moment calls, that's what changes history. Thank you for tuning in to Freedom Friday today. If this message inspired you, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more biblical counter narratives of faith, hope, and resilience to the power of a risen Christ. Until next time, stay strong, stay faithful, and keep walking in freedom.